did they, you said they just launched it, in January, right? So
Yeah.
that was success. I mean, I'm taking it that was not an overnight success.
No, it wasn't. In fact, they set out originally, the biggest problem with preparing your taxes is collecting all the information. You get stuff, if you're employed, you get it from an employer, a W-2, you have a 401k plan, you have other investments, and you have to wait for everybody to mail it to you. And they were trying to reduce that data entry, so they were looking at things like scanner technology, and that was the problem they set out to solve. And they came up with a pretty neat V1, and they showed it to the customer. The customer said, this is great, but why would you get me 6 feet over a 12-foot ditch? Why can't I just do all my taxes on this thing? And they stepped back and said, wow, how are we going to get to that? So they went back and they said, the first thing we have to do is we have to focus. We have to get really narrow. We can't do this for everybody, but we can do it for the 22 million people that use a 1040 easy form. If they have no deductions, they don't own a home, but there's 22 million people, maybe we can do a simple tax return on there. And then they figured out how to use the sensory capabilities that are evident in a mobile device. Things like the camera. Things like the GPS, and they began to apply that technology to solve problems that historically we would do with screens. And ultimately what they ended up with was a product that could only get in California, could only do it for the 1040 easy form, and in the first year, the customers, we had 2 groups of customer feedback, raging advocates and completely pissed off people. And the raging advocates were everybody who was in California, who had a 1040 easy form, and the pissed off people were everybody who didn't live in California and didn't have a 1040 easy form. And we said, well, maybe we're onto something. So this year we rolled it out to all the states, and now we have raging advocates in all states, except for those who don't have an easy tax return. And so the good news is there's a tablet. We can add a little more to the tablet.
That's really cool.